Hello and welcome to some midweek crafting. Tonight we are going to do the DIY paste that we did last week, and we're going to mix it with some embossing powder. So I'm going to share with you a technique on how we can get a really shiny, fun, glossy or metallic-y kind of finish to our embossing paste or our homemade DIY paste. The first thing I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to create myself a little background. So I've got a 5x5 inch piece of cardstock, and this is jingle bells in stamp form, so jingle bells all over the background. I thought we could do a Christmas card tonight. And I get bored of green and reds, so I like to do blues or purples. And so tonight I'm starting with Salvage Patina Distress Oxide, and I'm inking that up to make my little background. Then I'm going to do the exact same as last week. I'm pulling out my piece of acetate, and I'm going to get out my craft PVA glue and my baby powder. Now, if you don't have baby powder, don't want to use that, you can use talcum powder. Baking powder apparently works as well. Anything sort of gritty should work. And I am using a craft PVA glue, so this glue is slightly thicker than a normal PVA glue, so it's not quite so runny. I'm mixing it with the powder just to make a paste out of it, and I'm mixing up only what I'm going to use. However, I did make a little bit too much tonight, but the idea is that you can make yourself a nice little small portion of embossing paste, and then you can sort of clean up your tools when you're done. You don't have to worry about a pot going moldy or icky. Now I've got this dotty stencil in my stash, which is from my friend Natasha Foote a few years ago, so I don't think it's available anymore, but I thought I would use it because it looks like snow, a little bit of like snow falling kind of imagery. And all I'm going to do is take my homemade paste and apply it straight over top of that stencil, making sure I get every one of those little circles covered that's on top of my card front. And then when I'm done, I can go ahead and remove that panel from my card base, or my card front, sorry. And what you want to do is make sure you go and wash all those bits straight away, or dunk them in like a little bucket of water, because this is made with glue, so it will really damage your products if you don't wash it straight away, or your supplies. Now I've got a scrap bit of printer paper here. This is actually from my daughter's performance over the summer. I printed out an extra script for her, so it's in my stash now being used as my scrap paper. And I'm going to go ahead and start with some embossing powders. Now I've got 3 shades of blue and a silver. So I'm going to start with my darkest first, and I'm going to kind of shake it onto the top and let it kind of trickle down a little bit while I shake it. I'm going to make sure that I empty each of my embossing powders as I go, so I don't get any mixed up and I don't waste any product. So I'm shaking off that embossing powder straight back into the pot. I'll add on my next one and kind of drizzle it above and below a little bit, and I'm going to gently shake it off. So in between each of these layers, I'm not tapping it, I'm not being overly aggressive, I'm just gently shaking it off so none of that powder goes mixing in between. At the very end, I give it a really good flick from the back with my finger to get that excess off. Now I've done this while the embossing paste is still wet, and I'm going to go ahead and straight away use my heat gun and melt my embossing powder. Now you will start to see it bubble up, and that's quite fun because it gives that quite dimensional look. If you look, it looks like I've put on little gems on every one of those circles. So by heating it afterwards, it kind of makes that glue bubble a little bit and pop up. Sometimes you do, however, get a bit of a squidge of the glue kind of coming through, so you can see that little white dot there. All you need to do is just go along with a pair of tweezers or your fingers and just pick that little white dot off if there's any of those popped up. And that's how you can just get rid of that excess glue if it does pop through that embossing powder. But you get this beautiful raised, almost gem-like structure going on the front of your card, which is really fun. Obviously, the bigger your stencil and the more open your stencil, then the more raised areas you'll get, the more sort of distressed, bubbly look you'll get on the bigger pattern that you use. Now I've taken the same ink pad again and just created myself a nice little border around my card. So this is 1/8 of an inch bigger. So I've got 5 1/8, I believe, and then I'm going to do 5 1/4 card base, I think. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to remember what the measurements were, but they were 1/8 of an inch between each of my layers. Now here I've decided to go with my Merry and Christmas dies. I was trying to debate what I was doing, and I forgot to share with you that I had the matching Merry along with the Christmas from this one company that I used. I'll link everything I can down below for you, so if you do want to check anything out, it should be there. And if you want to catch any of the names of the products I used, it should be there. But that is our finished card. I don't feel like I need to add any gems. It's already dimensional and beautiful and bubbly. I hope you had a good time with me tonight, and I hope you have a go with making your own paste and combining it with your embossing powders. Take care, have a fabulous week. I'll see you on Saturday. Bye.